without further ado, as is tradition now, on Tuesdays, we have Judge Andrew Napolitano on the Zoom or the StreamYard. He's on the live stream. Judge, how are you?
I'm great, Joey, my friend. Thanks for having me on. How are you?
Doing quite well. And I first want to start by saying I thought your interview with Governor Chris Christie was excellent yesterday and a lot of good detail, but it brought this basic question to mind. You, correct me if I'm wrong, have a lot of friends that don't agree with you politically, I'd imagine. And how do you maintain friendships despite how nasty the politics is these days?
You know, I learned a long time ago, you have to have friends on both sides of the aisle. One of the great preachers of that was, of all people, Roger Ailes, who encouraged us to have friends with our colleagues at other networks, even colleagues with whom we disagreed. I remember going down to visit Roger once, and who did I see walking out of his office? Rachel Maddow. Now there's a combination, Roger Ailes and Rachel Maddow. And he made me promise not to repeat it. Of course, he's no longer with us. I don't feel bound by the promise, but I have always had friends with whom I disagree politically, partially because it's tough for me to find anyone that I fully agree with politically.
Right. I'm very much with you there. And it gives us a weird neutrality being the libertarians we are.
Yeah. And in the case of Governor Christie, I mean, he and I have been friends since my early days on the bench and before he was even involved in politics, when he was a lawyer trying cases in northern New Jersey. And we've stayed friends, even though I've had some harsh things to say about his politics, and he's had some harsh things to say about what I said about him, but we've stayed friends.
Well, and I've been trying to maintain for years now this idea that came to me when I had some pretty tragic times. The personal trumps the political. It's not the personal, is the political. I think it eclipses all the things we might argue about, and maybe that could get us on the right path and get us to, well, actually common ideals again. And your op-ed from last week, Judge, has liberty died in our hearts? You get into this potential renewal of 702, as well as the abuse of the program, but you make this deeper point that you start with this quote that no law, no constitution could actually keep somebody's liberty alive unless they want that liberty alive, burning in their heart.
The quote is from a very famous federal judge in New York City named Learned Hand. Liberty lies in our hearts, and when it dies there, no law, no constitution, no court can save it. No law, no constitution, no court can even do very much to help it, because the government's appetite for our liberty is voracious, and unless we aggressively resist that appetite, we will lose our liberty. So the flashpoint here is a federal judge revealing that the FBI illegally spied on 278,000 Americans in 2022. Crickets, not on the front page of the newspapers, not on Fox News, not a major source of debate, not a condemnation by anybody except a few libertarians and a few progressives, because I suspect the government has so trashed the Constitution that liberty has died in our hearts, that we expect the government to cut holes in the Constitution, that we are no longer outraged when this happens. Section 702 of the FISA law is a George W. Bush era and George W. Bush creature, which allows the federal government to spy on foreign persons in America. What happens when they pick up conversations with foreign persons and Americans? Before we even get to that, is there some exception in the Fourth Amendment to foreign persons? Of course not. Spying and surveillance is a search and a seizure, and all searches and seizures require search warrants. Americans, foreigners, good people, bad people, people the government likes, people the government hates, people the government fears. The Fourth Amendment protects everyone. Congress has taken the position that it can refine and define the Fourth Amendment. It can't. And it enacted this Section 702. So when the FBI or the NSA comes upon communication that it obtained without a warrant because one of the communicants is a foreigner and the other communicant is an American, that's supposed to go into a database, and it should only be accessed by a search warrant. The FBI doesn't bother getting search warrants. They go into that database whenever they want. So in 1 year, last year, 2022, they went into that database 278,000 times without a search warrant, without probable cause, without articulable suspicion, on a fishing expedition. All the things that the Fourth Amendment was written to prevent them from doing. And there is no outrage. 3 people of the 278,000 are public officials, at least 3. A U.S. senator who has been told and has not outed herself or himself, a state senator, and a state judge. What did the state judge do? How did he get in there? He saw local police violating the civil rights of people outside of his courtroom. He complained to the police chief. They told him to take a hike. He complained to the prosecutors. They told him to take a hike. He complained to the FBI. What did the FBI do? Spied on him. Man, enough is enough. Do your job.
Right. And, folks could always say, well, we're just bad-mouthing the FBI, but it's almost like people want to catch Christopher Wray with a gun in his hand and somebody with bullet holes lying on the ground. Oh, then we can say the FBI is corrupt. But when they do these little intrusions that are, again, intrusions on people's liberty, they don't even have to go for it. It creates this chilling effect, right, across the board.
Yes. The chilling effect is when people think twice about exercising their expressive liberties, speech, association, religion, even silence, because of fear that the government will surveil and make use of it. What happens if the government wants to use this evidence that they got on these 278,000 people in a criminal prosecution? The government knows it has this information illegally. Do the 278,000 people know who they are? No, they don't. And they'll never know who they are unless the feds prosecute them for something and reveal where they got it. They can't use it in the prosecution, but they might inadvertently. These things do happen where the feds inadvertently reveal things. They might inadvertently reveal that they have it. But what terrifies me even more than what the FBI has done is that there is no outrage. That liberty the love of liberty may very well be dying in our hearts, Joey.
Well, and that's what I worry about. And just as a quick follow-up to that, and it's I'm of a split mind on this, and it's such a meta question, I think it's fine for me not to have a solid answer. But I know your friend, for instance, Colonel McGregor, Doug McGregor, thinks a great calamity is what's going to change this country. It's probably the only thing that's going to change the country for the better. I heard Glenn Beck, of all people, giving a speech the other day where he talked about a Chinese Christian, and she told him, I pray constantly for America. He's like, well, what do you pray for? Is it for y'all to be humbled? And, there are other camps that say, hey, no, the American people still have this love of liberty. They're still dynamic if you set them free. Where do you think you land on this spectrum?
I think not in my lifetime, but maybe in yours or your children or grandchildren, the country will fall like an overripe apple and break away into numerous republics. The Northeast, the Southwest, the Southeast, etc. Like-minded states will become independent countries because the debt is intolerable. The loss of liberty is intolerable. The constant wars are intolerable. So I guess I'm sort of with Beck. I'm predicting a calamity. It doesn't necessarily have to be violent. I mean, the old Soviet Union fell without a shot being fired. America is an empire, and empires just can't last by continually going into debt and continually fighting war and continually trying to tell other countries how to live.
Well, and it's a rough time, and I still have hope, though. I think maybe we have to go through that crucible in order to actually be tested again. And again, folks, we're talking to Judge Andrew Napolitano. You can always go to judgenap.com to catch his op-eds out every Thursday, and it's all over the place, too, shared all over the world. But also Judging Freedom. You can watch on YouTube. That's where I usually watch. Folks, what do you got coming up on Judging Freedom today?
Well, I am a guest on the great Alex Jones at 2 o'clock Eastern. I don't know what Alex wants to talk about, but when he books you, he books you for an hour, and it's like everything under the sun. I mean, it's a hoot. So I'm
Judge,
looking
let
forward
me
to
tell
that.
let me tell you, they have interdimensional aliens. They're communing with them through ayahuasca and DMT under UCLA. Maybe that's
Very
what he wants to
good.
talk about.
That's a great imitation, Joey. I never heard you do that before.
I usually spare my guests my impersonation.
I have Matthew Ho, young former Marine captain and State Department official, who's bemoaning the fact that CIA, MI6, Great Britain leadership, German leadership, American leadership are all saying the same thing in unison and in uniform. Biden has lost the war. And not only is it not true, but it's fascinating that they're all saying it at the same time. They began this about 3 or 4 days ago. It's very interesting that this mantra is their next phase, as if this is going to change things. I say Biden lost the war. They're saying Putin lost the war. Forgive me. That as if this is going to change things on the battlefield. And then I think I have Larry. I think we're waiting to work this out. Larry Johnson and Ray McGovern with a three-way conversation amongst the three of us on similar topics.
Well, folks, Judging Freedom is must watch, but we still got a little time here. So, based on the first part of our conversation, you can maybe call these topics the rotten fruits of this tree that we're living under right now. We could start with the Bidens, and I think a good way to start is with what happened with the Hunter Biden plea deal last week.
Well, it's obvious that the lawyers did not communicate fully with each other. In my career on the bench, Joey, I've probably taken about 1,500 guilty pleas, and I would say about 15% of them collapse in the courtroom because it turns out that the government didn't know everything about the defendant, or the defendant didn't know everything about the government's case. So when the judge said to Hunter Biden himself, now, before you enter these guilty pleas, do you know they can still prosecute you for other things? And he said, well, no, they can't. They've agreed that this is it. And the prosecutor said, well, yes, we can. We still have 2 active investigations. And defense counsel said, well, you told me this was a universal settlement of everything. So obviously they hadn't communicated. Then the judge herself said, before you enter this pretrial diversionary program on the gun charge, the gun statute might be unconstitutional. This might not be a crime. The crime is possession of a weapon by a habitual drug user. The framers used hemp on a regular basis, and they carried their weapons wherever they went. So the law is that the gun rules today have to reflect what they meant when the Second Amendment was ratified. So she raised all these issues, and she said, don't make a big deal out of this. This stuff happens. Go back to your offices and work it out. The defendant is entitled to know all the likely and probable charges against him before he enters into a guilty plea for any of them. And the government is entitled to know everything it needs to know about the defendant before it agrees to let him off the hook. Now, I say let him off the hook. These tax charges are misdemeanors. He has already paid the taxes. People saying he's getting a slap on the wrist. Most people are not even prosecuted for this. Once you pay the tax, you pay the fine, you pay the penalty, you pay the interest, the government couldn't care less. They just let you go about your normal life. So the people who say he's getting off easy because his name is Biden, I say he's being prosecuted because his name is Biden.
I would say from the Devin Archer testimony, and I guess everybody, for partisan reasons, is characterizing it in one way or the other. But from that testimony, I think it would be rich if on a tax misdemeanor and these gun charges, you could also get immunity from, say, a violation of FARA standards.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Biden, the young Biden, apparently thought he was getting some kind of immunity. Right. FARA is the statute that requires you to register as a federal agent. So when he was making money from Burisma and representing Burisma, was Burisma owned by the Ukraine government? Good question. And if it was, did that make him an agent of the Ukraine government? And did he fail to register? I think the government doesn't know, because Burisma doesn't exist anymore. I don't think the government knows that Burisma was owned by a foreign government. So they have to resolve that, and whether they can prove that before they can charge him with the failure to register.
Well, and at this point, it's the de facto 51st state, so I guess it's not that foreign anymore.
Correct. Correct. It's not only the de facto 51st state, it's the State Department's battering ram. They think they can use this battering ram to drive Vladimir Putin from office.
And then before I let you go, Trump. More charges were dropped, more coming. We don't have too much time here, so take that where you want to take it with Trump and his latest legal woes.
Well, the charges that are coming are January 6th. It would take me a while to analyze them, especially since I haven't seen them, since they haven't been revealed yet. But what was revealed last Thursday afternoon, in my opinion, is devastating to the former president. This is such an overwhelming case. The government has to prove that he knowingly retained these documents and intended to keep them and knew he shouldn't have had them. The government shows intent by showing a cover-up. The government now has evidence on videotape of documents being hidden and people moving them around, so the FBI, when they served the search warrant on his house, couldn't find them. Bingo, there's your intent. Very, very bad for him. He shouldn't be making light of it, and he shouldn't be taunting the prosecutor. This is a case with overwhelming evidence against him, overwhelming, well beyond what is needed to convict.
Well, and what a remarkable time as he continues to be leading in the polls. Biden is still the front runner because he's the incumbent president, and yet both have all these crap storms. I almost said the other thing, swirling around them.
Yes.
What a time. And I always appreciate your time, Judge. Until next week, I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Joey. Pleasure to be on with you. All the best, my friend. Oh, did you have Senator Tuberville on last
Yes.
week?
Yes, I did. Yeah. And I gave him your best and said that you love his stand.
Thank you. Thank you. And he's not going to back down. And that thing, we really need a space force. I think Trump got a vision and a dream about it, but whatever. That thing will be in Huntsville because that's where all the gear is. That's where all the equipment is. That's where all the expertise is.
Well, yeah, they passed all sorts of basic tests, a lot of different tests the bureaucracy put them through. In Alabama, Huntsville was number one, and yet Biden made the decision. I guess, though, you should ask Doug McGregor the next time you have him on. Do the latest ISR strike capabilities require sacrificing a few babies to work properly? Isn't it called the BALL program or the MORDOC? Yeah, It's just ridiculous.
I know that sounds snarky, but if you know, if your listeners know what you're talking about, and I suspect they do, you're right on the mark. Right on the mark. Why is the military slaughtering babies?
Yeah. Well, on that downward note, I always appreciate your time, Judge. Thank you, sir.
Love you, Joey. All the best.
Again, folks, that's Judge Andrew Napolitano.